Okay, wondering your opinion on fall calving versus spring calving when selling calves at sale barn as weaned calves. Thanks, guys.
So this is a good. It's a good topic that we've talked about before, but the specific angle of the weaned calves sort of changes the conversation a little bit. You wanna
start into this bad boy. So spring versus fall calving, and when I'm talking spring, I'm not talking January because that is not spring calving. I'm talking April, at least here in Missouri. April, when the grass is growing, the temperatures are warm. So spring calving. Calves drop in April. They get to 7 months.
April, May, June, July, August, September, October.
They get to 7 months-ish, October, November-ish. They can be weaned. The problem with that, so if you're going to sell calves right after they're weaned, you can sell them at that time.
Yep.
Fall calves, let's say September, October time. September, October, November, December, January, February, March.
Yeah.
So those cows, so the spring cows, they calve, the grass is growing, since they calve, their nutritional requirements double with the milk production that they need to be doing and just to keep their own body condition up. So their nutrient requirements double, or their feed requirements, and right in line with when the grass is growing at its fastest growth. And so, the cow's got all she needs to eat. She's milking that calf. The calf is getting all the milk it needs to eat. It's really good milk. It's going through the summer. As the summer progresses, she's getting, still getting prime quality forage all the way through September, October time, when it's about time for weaning. You can wean those calves off. If you're going to sell them right after you wean them, that's a perfect time to sell them.
Yep.
If you're going to try to winter the calves as weaned,
it's a tough go.
If you're doing it 100% on grass, you're going to have a hard time keeping weight on those calves because
they need something in addition to the grass.
Or like hay or stockpile.
Yeah.
Because once the grass goes dormant, the nutrition value of that feed goes way down, and it's more of a maintenance ration where the cows, they can survive on that because they're not trying to grow. A calf is trying to grow. It needs a lot more nutrients and minerals and things to grow that frame and that body, put on condition. And so if you're planning on weaning and keeping overwintering the calves, you're gonna probably have to either have some kind of like cover crop that you'll be strip grazing, like high quality winter feed, or feeding some kind of like grain
or supplement.
That's what a lot of people that do winter calves or cattle in general is they've got their hay, they've got their stockpile, they also give the cattle grain. If you're looking to make a profit, that's not a way to. It's hard. It's really hard to do it.
I'm not saying people can't do it,
right.
But there's also the other aspect of it, which is like the grass-fed like environmental aspect of it that is negated when you're when you're supplementing grain. So
let's do the other coin. So the calves are born in September, October. It's not as big as the spring flush, but there is a jump in the grass growth of the cool seasons grass in September, October time. So there's going to be a little bit better feed than there was maybe 2-3 months ago for those cows. So they'll get a little better feed, but they're going into winter.
Yep.
And so they're at a time in their life they're needing the most amount of feed, and they're looking at a time frame when they're going to be getting the least amount of feed over as far as like comparison to the rest of the year. So that cow, if she calves in September, October, she's going to have to take that calf all the way through the winter till March when you can wean her off. And there's some ranchers in North Missouri that's what they do. They have all fall calves, and they've bred over the years. They've culled any cow that can't fit that paradigm of calving in the fall, taking that calf through the winter on poor feed, and then weaning in the springtime. The benefit of that is if you are planning to keep your calves after they've been weaned, you're weaning in March, April, May time, at least here in Missouri.
Yep.
You're looking at the peak growth, and so that calf, as soon as he's weaned, he or she's looking at the best feed that she can have the rest of the year, and so that's a time. If you're going to be keeping your calves, it's a good time to wean. You just have to get over, or you have to have the right genetics in order that cow can take that calf through the winter.
Yep.
Be suckling a calf and also trying to keep body weight on herself.
Yep. So I guess to recap, if it depends on what your market, it depends on what your market is for the calves. If you're not gonna be weaning at all, which is like what we do.
Yeah, so I guess
there's no real reason to calve in the fall. You should really be calving in the spring, where you're lining up that nutrition, like you said, with the lactation of the cows, right? The high nutrition of the spring grass with the lactation of the cows. If you're selling freshly weaned calves, you could also still do that, no problem. If you're going to be hanging on to those weaned calves for a period of time to put weight on them or whatever, you really got to think about, if you're doing 100% grass-based with no grain supplementation, you should really think about fall calving and just understanding that you're going to have to cull and select your cow herd to be okay taking calves through the winter on less palatable feed.
Let's do a little promotion right now. If you're following Greg's YouTube and you saw the video of 100 heifers for sale, those heifers are out of the herd that the guys manage like that.
Yeah.
They calve in the fall. They make that cow keep that calf through the winter time, and they wean in the spring right in time for fresh grass to grow.
Yeah.
And so
that's sort of the nutshell.
If you buy those, that might be a way to do it. But,
yeah, it's true.
Or breeding your own genetics that way.
But like anything, just depends. Just depends on your situation, which is a convenient truth for us because whatever we can't give you absolutes. It's like it works for us, works for this situation, may not work for you. It sort of like covers it, but at the same time, it's just reality.
It's just what you gotta. I don't think there's ever going to be a perfect
solution for every situation.
For every situation. For this situation, having the calves in the spring, that mother raises that calf all the way through the winter. In the wintertime, she doesn't have much. She's not giving much milk. She's
just a little bit.
Just like enough for that calf. It's like basically giving the calf grain, but it's on grass because the mother's eating and making the milk. And so that calf is getting just a little bit of nutrients through the winter, and that keeps it healthy and doing good. And so when the spring comes, the bulls get taken out, and so those calves are weaned. The heifers stay in, and sometimes, most of the time, the mother will wean that heifer, the yearling heifer.
Yeah. Sometimes
when they don't, and she starts stealing milk from the new calf that the mother just had, we'll have to put a ring in her nose, like one of those weaning rings. But that's kind of an abnormality. Usually that's fine.
I'd say it's like less than 10%.
Oh, yeah. We haven't had to do one yet this year.
This year.
60 calves.
Well, we had to do one last year, but I'm saying like not weaning, like the mother not weaning her calf from last year.
Yeah.
It's probably like 10% or less. Mm-hmm. And then it's even less than that where it becomes a problem.
Because even if that other calf's sucking, usually that mother has enough milk right after she's born that calf is fine.
Yeah.
Now, if you have we had the one heifer.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to keep watching her. But she.
Yeah. Sometimes if it's a big heifer, even from last year or the year before, sometimes they can really put down some milk compared to a calf, and it becomes problematic. But that's when the weaning ring comes into play, and those seem to work for us pretty well. So I think that covers that was an in-depth fall calving, spring calving discussion.
That's a cool one. I really like that.
Yeah,
that debate.
There is a video on YouTube where we went over it, but this one that I'll clip out is like an even deeper dive, just because we're talking specifically about weaning times, which I think we touched on in the last clip, but not to that extent. So
there's a lot of benefits to each.
Yeah, it just depends
on the situation. So it's like if you can understand the parameters behind it and the benefits of each, you can then tailor it to your own situation better than just guessing.
Yep, for sure.
But